Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
How are
Hey.
you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Hello. Hey, Nolan.
Hi there, Carol.
Hey. Hey, Nolan, you're on my list to call.
I'm on your list.
You are.
Am I in trouble?
No, I don't keep a bad list.
Oh, good.
I stopped a long time ago. I only keep a good list. If they're on my bad list, why should I even write it down?
That's a good way to look at it.
That's right.
Yeah, you learn when you get old, you know. You keep the good stuff and you spit the rest out. Yeah, no, you're on my good list.
Well, thank you.
Actually, give me a call tomorrow when you have time.
Okay.
Okay, I'll be
I
around.
will.
Yeah. Hi, Lindsay. Hannah. Everybody's jumping in here. Everybody awake? Got your wine? There you go.
Have an Italian red tonight.
I got to tell you guys something that's really funny. Couple of classes ago, I don't know when it was, I took a screenshot of, remember the class when Anne was taking a nap?
Yes.
And Hannah, you had a big glass. I think it was you that had a big glass of wine. You were pouring it. Tim was drinking a beer. Somebody else, 2 or 3 other people were like this. It's the funniest goddamn picture I've ever seen.
That's hilarious.
I posted it on this group that I'm part of. That's like all these rock star national agents that we're like really good friends. And about 50 of them will be here in September for the page event. I had more comments. Everybody absolutely just died laughing at this picture. So I just
Glad we could help you out.
I had nobody knows who you are, and they all know that it's lucky I didn't have like something that I was drinking. And I said, well, there's a lot of conversation about whether we should do evening classes of 100 Days to Greatness, and I said, anybody have any comment about whether we should be doing 100 Days to Greatness evening classes? Something like that. It was really funny. So you amused a lot of people who have really good sense of humor. So. Yeah. How's your week, you guys? Let's talk. Tell me about what's going on. What's going on in the marketplace? What's happening? Something good, something bad, whatever.
I had the deal from hell.
And you had a deal from hell, yes?
Yep. Fell apart completely. Got cussed out. Guy said, not gonna close. Told me to go to hell.
Really?
We should still close tomorrow though.
Oh, well, look at you. Yeah.
It took everything in my bones to keep it together and work through it with him and tell him, you need to, in a nice way, grow up. And everybody was trying to, the listing agent worked with me. I worked on some stuff. I mean, each of us had some things that had to fix to have the deal go through still. And, he was just mad that he thought he was the only one being picked on. So like the roof ended up needing an inspection, even though the inspector said the roof was fine. This was kind of funny. The appraiser said the roof needed an inspection. So, and the inspector was going to charge $150. So the listing agent said he'd pay for that. And then they wanted some tiles in the basement that had some wires covered, and he sent his handyman out and paid for that. So, I just told my guy, everyone's trying. And then I finally got hold of the appraiser to ask her if she could go out as soon as she could to go out and check these things out. You know what she said to me? She goes, I'll sign off on it now. She goes, I never had a problem with any of it to begin with. She goes, it was your underwriter that told me I had to add it to my report.
Seriously, for the
Yep.
lender's underwriter?
Yep.
Oh, I've quit lenders for things like that.
So then I called my lender and said, hey, when do you think something, she said, well, will they accept the thing you did on the foundation? Will the appraiser accept that? Because that's why I called the appraiser to begin with. I go, well, yeah, she'll accept it considering she didn't have the problem to begin with. And the lender's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I said, well, she flat out said that you guys are a bunch of liars and that she had no problem with it and that she's tired of you guys throwing the appraisers under the bus.
Hmm.
And that if you're going to add stuff that you need to step up and just say it's what you guys want, not blame it on the appraisers. So
Underwriters can be very, can actually make or break you.
Yeah.
And I had a really good lender one time that, but he went to work for a company that had this group of underwriters who they had their own stuff going on internally, and it just made it very difficult for deals to close. And you just don't want to have deals that come right down to the last week, the last time, and then they don't close.
Well, it was so weird is the appraiser it was supposed to close last Friday and the appraisal had been done for like 2.5 weeks. Couldn't get it. And then of course, yeah, we get it finally on that Tuesday and it has all these exceptions, which again was crazy. And come to find out, you're right, it was only the appraiser.
So overall, how are you guys seeing appraisals? Is anybody getting any low appraisals?
Well, that particular one was lower.
That one was lower. The rest of you, if you have any deals going, are you seeing appraisals come in? We've been seeing them come in at price, and I'm surprised actually.
I had a deal back in June. We offered 15,000 over asking price in this little tiny house in South Omaha, and it went through. I know. I was like, I must be connected to God or something because I don't know how this went through.
I'm seeing houses that are like 900 square feet that are in the 300,000s, like 300 and something dollars a square foot for these houses. And I'm just thinking like, yeah, they look good. They've been redone, but it's going to be pretty interesting to see if there's actually comps. There are comps in those areas that have a lot more square footage that look good or don't look good that they'll probably be able to use, but not when we get back to square footage, I'm concerned about some of the stuff that's under 1,000 square feet. So
Because one of the ladies I work with at the bank, she had, knows I do the real estate, and she said, yeah, there was a house across the street from her that was 800 square feet, and it sold for $199,000. It was 800 square feet.
Yeah.
And she said, she goes, 2-bedroom, 1 bath. She goes, I think it's been fixed up a little bit. She goes, but nothing fancy whatsoever.
That's the other thing, is seeing 2-bedroom, 1 bath, maybe 1-car garage. I don't know. I'm not sure how those numbers are coming, unless the appraisers are just like, hell with it, just like they've given up.
Yeah. Well, like you said, though, everyone that I've done that's been over, every one of them's come in exactly at price, not lower, not higher, right at price. So I'm like you, I wonder if they're just doing right at price and just not wanting to fight.
Well, we had, I think this last month, I think we had nine closings between buyers and sellers, and not one of them was under, not one, but some of them were over, like some of them were more than the inflated price. So I think there was a couple of months, this is what I think has happened. There were a couple of months in May and June when prices went stupid, went to stupid on steroids. And they were going $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 over asking price. And a lot of those closed because they had guarantees of being able to pay the difference between the sales price and the appraised price. So a lot of them closed. So those are comps that are out there right now. Well, I'm not sure how long those are going to last because there's not as much of a glut of those. So I'd be really careful. I think that's my point in here. And I like to get a feel of the market from you guys because you're out there all the time, and you're probably seeing a lot more buyers than I'm seeing, and maybe at different, all different price ranges. So I would just be I think our buyers have a lot more possibility right now, and a lot more ability to. Are you seeing that? Anybody that's done an offer that was at asking price, or seen one?
Under on a few.
What, Nolan?
I've had 3 transactions where we went below asking.
Yeah, there's actually a house right now that's been on the market for about a week and a half, and it's a nice house. It's in a really nice area, in the $350,000 to $400,000 range. And I'm looking at it, and I'm going like, you guys, you just blew probably about at least 2% of your price because it's sat on the market. Because I think they came out overpriced. Even if you're 5,000-10,000 overpriced, I think that's it's call for really having good conversations with your sellers right now on the reality of what's going on in the market. And the best way to do that is to have some stats and talk to other agents, because that's what they listen to. As far as they're concerned, they're still on the merry-go-round, and the merry-go-round is slowed down so people can get on. So that was a good analogy.
For those of you guys that have deals going on right now or recently, how are you guys getting inspections? Are those being accepted? Those offers being accepted more than they were a couple months ago?
Jump in, Nolan.
I've only had one person out of all my deals forego an inspection. I've actually on my South O deal, the one that was 15,000, the appraisal, they took it. They actually accepted our offer because it was more money, and they were okay with us having a home inspection, versus they had some other offers that maybe were like 5,000 over asking price that waived it. They actually took ours, which I thought was kind of unique.
They took a shot at it.
Yeah, and it turned out fine.
Yeah, and if people are they know their house and they know it's not going to show up with a whole lot of stuff.
You can't expect your team to manage work with this. With Money.com's
What is that? Did we just have an alien? Yeah, so inspections, and when you're asking for inspections, are you asking for just inspections period? Or are you saying, like, the only ones we've gotten through have been having inspections, looking for major defects over $1,000 per item. Or for buyers information only, I'm always concerned about that, because if my buyer, the information is that the house is, a piece of crap, we're going to be playing the I'm not doing this game, and we're going to be in a fight. So I'd rather do for major, or specifically we're having the HVAC inspected, or we're having something in no more than X amount of dollars that the seller would have to pay. So I think the more specific that you are, but I think that the window's open a little bit for you to be a little more negotiable with sellers when you have buyers. So, okay. Anybody else had any good things happen this week, or any things you want to talk about, or you won't have any questions?
I had kind of an interesting thing happen. Someone reached out to me that I did my master's with about 10 years ago, and she 2 years ago, so June of 2019, so it's been over 2 years, she bought what she thought was her forever home, but then they're realizing that they had another baby and it's kind of getting tight, and their biggest thing is they want another garage stall. So they had and her realtor moved away, so she's not attached.
Yay, moving.
It's like, thanks for that piece of info, because I've been burned before. So they got an estimate from a contractor to add a garage that then adds on a mudroom that like connects to their laundry room or something. And it was like 40 or 50K. They live kind of in the Standing Bear Elementary area. Mm-hmm. And so basically she's wanting to know, do they spend 40, 50K to make this home work for them, or do they sell this home and buy kind of the next bump up? So it's kind of a complicated question.
I don't think it's that complicated.
You're a real estate agent. You always tell them to buy something else.
Well, I know, but
Well,
yeah,
no,
I want to know your advice.
That's not that would not be my first go-to, but that was funny. I would just do the numbers. Just, and the projected growth. Basically in this, in the Omaha area and places like Standing Bear, which is a growing community that a lot of people want to be in because of the, the lake and just things like that that are close and where it's located. Location, and look at what the growth prospects are over the next 10 years. 5, no, don't go 10, go 5, over the next 5 years. So more than not, the Omaha area goes up 3%, down 3%. That's if the rest of the nation is having a tough time, and this is very general, but I use it because you got to have something, and we're not like the West Coast where it goes like 20% up and then 20% down when things are bad, and we're not in that kind of a market right now. According to, I don't know if you guys listen to that Lawrence Yun, the financial guy from the National Association of Realtors that Brian Buffini interviewed, or who else you listen to, but they're all kind of saying the same thing. We're in this for the next 3 to 5 years easily, just because the builders can't catch up. So we're probably looking at 3 to 5%, and then you take, the inflation, and you take building costs and all of that. So maybe go with 3 to 5%. So how much do you think their house is worth right now?
They bought it for $290. Based on the CMA I ran, it's kind of like $320, $330-ish now.
Okay, so, and it's a 2-car garage,
Mm-hmm.
like a 322 or a 422?
332 with a non-conforming basement.
Okay,
Fourth.
what do you mean a non-conform? Like it's not finished?
With a non-conforming basement, 4th bedroom.
Oh, non-conforming 4th. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So they're at 330 right now. If they went up 5% next year, that's another 16,000, let's say. That's at, and then the following year they would be going up from 350. Another, let's say 3 to 5%. It would take them a long time to recoup that. You're talking about adding a 3rd car garage onto a 2, not like going from no garage to a garage, because then you're going to add like, that has value right then. No garage to 1 garage has value. 1 garage to 2 garage might have exponentially have that value, I would think. But I think adding the 3rd is not going to give them back their 50,000. And I'll tell you, if they say it's 40 to 50,000, it's going to be more than that. It's usually 10 to 20% more in building costs by the time it gets done. So, but to find that same house in that same area, they could probably pull the cash out of the house that they have right now, somebody that doesn't care whether it's 2-car garage, and take and turn around and invest that in something that's already done. And if I had if I sat down with a real calculator, I could probably give you some numbers of how that would be a better investment for them to sell and buy. But then they also have to figure what all their moving stuff would be. So it's not even, I don't think it's close, and it's going to probably take them 3 to 5 years to catch up. Or they can take 3 to 5 years in a new place that has what they need and experience the equity build. So.
Thank you. That's very informative. That's good. Because what they're wanting, I'm finding things for like 370 to 380. So it seemed like reasonable for them.
So in times like that, go to your linear logical place and give them facts and numbers. No, because you're gonna if they came to you for advice, and it makes a difference in how they make that decision, you will hold on to them as clients for the buy and the sell. If they think that you're trying to just get a sale, you'll probably lose them on both ends, but that was my first thought, Anne, so.
I
um,
was just joking, you know that.
I know, I know you were, but that, I mean, we are realtors and I go to, if it's a wash, like, yeah, let's go find a house. Like I'm going to put something in front of them probably within the next week if I can find it, so that they can make a decision. And plus living through a remodel is hell. So, so all those things, but let them see it from a financial, and you're going to look really smart too, based on your projections of the marketplace. So, okay. So speaking of smart, and Jackie, you had something that you wanted to share also.
I was gonna say I got my first client, so.
Buyer, seller,
Buyer.
where'd they come from?
They're actually out of North Platte. It's a mom of a friend of mine, and she's in the process of selling her house in North Platte, and she's having an interesting dilemma with her appraisal as well out there, but wanting to move here, and her son and her grandson, who has some special needs, are going to be moving in with them. So, yeah.
Nice. Good. Well, have fun with that.
Yeah.
Who's your mentor?
Angie Pottle.
Okay. So you're going to talk with her all the way through it too.
Oh yeah, we went,
I'm sure
she's kind of helped me with the
contract.
the buyer packet. We went over that. We did that last week, and I already met with the client today and went through all that with her. And so, yeah, once I get to I think my biggest issue will just be, doing the whole offer, the form, and Angie will help me with that. Yeah.
Great. Anybody else have anything they want to share? Lindsay, how was your week?
Been slow. Still trying to find that balance. My schedule at my normal job should be changing from 9:30 to 6:30 to an 8 to 5. So I'm hoping that will help. I just sent out 650 flyers to my neighborhood.
You did?
Wow. Yeah. And I've gotten 4 text messages from them.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, of people who aren't necessarily ready to sell, but they know, I'm going to give your number to so-and-so. It's nice to know you're in the neighborhood. So I'm hoping everything is going to kind of fall just right, and I can get something moving here.
Now you just have to be consistent.
Yes.
Consistent. And the people that you got texts from, were you able to get the rest of their contact information so you could put them into the database?
Yes. Yep. They actually led through with that, and they said, here's my family or my friend who is interested and has been looking, and I just happened to open up your flyer. And yeah, it was kind of 4th of July themed, and it was a red, white, and boom
cute
summer market. So I have my August one that I'm working on to send out. I'm hoping to do them once a month, just kind of stay consistent and in their mailbox constantly.
How long have you lived in the neighborhood?
Just under 2 years.
Yeah. Okay, good. So you're still fired up about the neighborhood. And
yeah. Yep.
Good. That's great. That's not a slow week. That's a good week.
Yeah. It all just happened today, actually. So it was a pretty good Monday. I got 4 messages. They must have just been delivered. So I had one come to my house too. So I knew when everyone would be getting them, and I haven't seen mine yet, but apparently they're out there.
A really good point. And I do that. So you put yourself in your database. Do you guys all have yourself in your database? Put yourself in your database. So when you send your stuff out, you get it also. So if you send out your things and you're not getting it for 2 weeks, you need to check and see what's happening with it. But yeah, put your own self in your database, or put one of your kids in it. If you have kids, they love getting stuff in the mail. So yeah, but then you'll know when it happens. So, okay. Anybody else have anything they'd like to say before we talk about money? Did you all watch the money video this time? Yes? Am I getting yeses? Okay. So give me some feedback on it. I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to ask you, I want every one of you to give me a definition to this. What's your definition of prosperity? Jump in, or I'll call on you. Go ahead.
I would say that, it's yes, it's the money I make, but I don't know, it's like what I do with it.
So it's yes, it's the money you make, but it's really what you do with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which that's not my job in the relationship.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of think of it as your long-term. I mean, long-term prosperity is how you do it over a period of time.
Okay.
I think
Julia?
you have to have a plan in place and goals set, so that you know what you're reaching for and where you're trying to get to. Otherwise, you're probably just wasting your time and not going to actually end up where you want to be.
So when you get there, what does it look like? Prosperity.
I mean, I think it's what the others are saying. I don't know. I mean, I agree with Nolan that it's not just about the amount that you have, but what you're doing with it and making sure that you're putting it towards something that is important to you.
Okay.
I think for me, it's two different paths. One, prosperity is one that's in relationship to the people in my life and my health. And so there's that kind of piece of it. And the other piece is the financial piece, which is kind of the long-term view, which, for me is being able to have experiences. And then when I'm old, that I find the right retirement home that I can afford it.
Okay.
I think for me, it would be, like everyone's saying, it's not so much how much I make and my wealth, but kind of my legacy for my family, and that I can give my child, experiences and memories and have the financial ability to do that instead of just kind of working all day and not being able to travel or anything, and kind of show her the world.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. All these are great. What do we have left? Julia, Dana, did you pass out? You don't want to answer this question? Come back here.
I think that living a prosperous life goes in, you also have to have a balanced life. I think that's a big part of it. So in your finances, having the balance between, your budget and where all of your money is going and like that piece, and then the balance of your social, emotional well-being within your work life as well. And I think it's like an overarching prosperous life needs balance.
Balance. Okay. Okay, you guys moved. Somebody changed. Dana, you're in the middle now. Dana, you're the last holdout here. What's prosperity? Your definition of it.
Sorry, I was running in and out. My husband's gone tonight, so all of them need me right now.
Lock them out. Just put them outside and lock the door.
I did. I did, and they just kept banging the door. I'm like, what? What do you need? Anyway, I would say probably over a long period of time to show that I feel like the things that I've been doing are working, rather than just, the short-term effects of even my pop buys and stuff. I think that if I keep doing those, I think at the end of a period of time, if it seems successful, I guess, with the things that I'm doing, that seems prosperous for me.
Cool. Anybody else? So for me, and I got this definition from several years ago, and it just kind of came to me that it wasn't, it didn't have, I was trying to define it with okay, well, you would have this and you'd feel like this. And so for me, it's the absence of concern about money, period. It's just the absence of it. It's not the presence of anything, but it's the absence of having concern about money, either in relationship to my family, to my business, to my health, to my personal self, or to anything that has to do with my life. So to just be able to be free, to be able to make decisions that are not influenced or uninfluenced by money. So it's the absence of something to me. And so I always like to hear what other people's definition of prosperity. And it, you may not be at the words of what that means for you, but I think at some point that it's necessary for you to have the words for what that means to you. Because how do you know when you get there? How do you know when you're like at that place where it's just it's just a given that you've reached your goals of, or you're at least on your path of goals. I think a lot of what Brian said in the Money Matters one today is really like, he took 25 minutes to teach what he's been, teaching, the fundamental basics that we always go back to. So there are agents who you guys see on a daily basis who've made some great financial investments, and they've done really, really well, but they all weren't there all the time. Did you guys see that the couple that was at the end with the sailboat, the Johnsons? That story, I've heard so many of those stories of people who were just, they hit the bottom, and particularly for those of us that went through the recession back in the mid 2000s. It was awful, seeing, I had several friends, but who had invested in like 15, 20 properties, and they lost them all and their own personal home. When there was, millions of houses on the market and foreclosures were huge. It didn't hit Nebraska. Nebraska was number 49 out of 50 states in the number of foreclosures during that period of time, which says a lot for the kind of the fiduciarily conservative mindset that kind of is more in the Midwest than it was in the West. So the main things that he talked about that I want to kind of reiterate and talk with you guys about were about, having a budget for your business and for your budget for your business and personally, which is very hard. And I still struggle with it. I just kind of know what everything is now, but it's something that I've always fought because I never wanted anybody to put I'm this free spirit that doesn't like people putting rules on me. So I put enough on myself. So making a budget was always like, I cannot even imagine like going to the store and having something in my hand and taking out my budget and saying, well, I can't do this. I would know that before I got there. Like mentally, I would know that before I even got there. So that's a struggle. And so anybody that has a budget or lives on a budget? And
I live on a budget. I raised both my kids alone for 20 some years. And so when I first got divorced and didn't have a second income, I had more bills than I did money.
Yeah.
So I started a budget then. And now, I've always been in banking. So this day I still have a budget, and you were talking about the grocery store. Now I don't have that problem financially, but I still budget how much I spend on gas. I budget how much I spend on groceries. I budget how much I spend on entertainment each month, and everything over and above that goes into a savings account. And even when I started the real estate thing, I told myself the exact same thing. Every deal I close, I have in my mind it goes into 3 different savings accounts: life, travel, and real estate. So all of my deals I split up in 3 and pay those into those
kind of
departments.
like he talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Only his had a tax account. Do you have a tax account?
Well, I have in my real estate account,
Yeah.
it breaks it down to like what I want to put back into like marketing stuff, what I want to put into taxes, and what I want to make into like, like for
Sure, yeah.
pictures or whatever. So
Good for
Yeah.
you. Who else has a budget? Hang on just one second. So you have a personal, a family budget, personal budget, and then you have a business budget. So you have two.
are you talking to me?
Yes, and yeah.
Yes.
I'm
Yes,
looking at you. Can't you see that?
Yeah, I have like I said, I work for a bank.
Yeah.
And so I have my bank income and that pays all my regular bills. And I forget who was just talking about, the experiences. And again, being a single parent, I've never been able to take my kids on vacations. I bought them each a car, I sent them to college, but to me, the vacations were just the extras. So my kids and I, right before this class started, I took my kids on a week's vacation to Florida, and it was the only first vacation, and they're 20 and 21. It was the first vacation I've ever taken them on. Except for like a weekend here or there, but it's first vacation. And I did it with a couple sales from my real estate. That was my plan, was to be able to use that money for things that, as a single parent, you pay your bills and you put away money for education, but you don't have the extras. So yeah, I have the.
Congratulations. Great story.
Thanks,
I love
thanks.
the story. Hey, who else? Who has a budget?
I hate budgets.
My boy.
Here's the thing. Okay, so one of my favorite financial gurus is Susie Orman, and she does not agree with budgeting. So in this household, we just kind of go week to week, and we kind of have an idea of this is how much money we can spend every week. It's rough. And, if I swipe the card too many times, I, usually get a phone call or a text saying, hey, try not to spend anything in the next couple of days. Then I'll just kind of retract a little bit. But
How's that working for you?
it works because, I listen, when my husband says to, we're over, then,
Yeah.
you know.
I don't like budgets, but I do them. I have, and it made a total difference in my life when I actually split my business and personal, because I had a false sense of how much money I had all the time, or we had. And I'm really, really good with money. I started working in credit in my teenage years, and then into my 20s, and ended up being a senior VP for a big mortgage credit reporting company. So that's how much I learned, and I had not even been to college yet. So that was like a big thing for me, was really understanding how to manipulate credit, which is not always the best thing that you can do, because I knew how to do those things. But I got backed in a corner too many times, and I was too stressed, not understanding and knowing that there was a difference between my business and my personal. And then my business was actually an entity that fed my personal. And if I didn't show some kind of discipline, it was not going to work, because a lot of money passes through. I wish I had all the money that has passed through my hands in my lifetime. I would be a gajillionaire, because I'm also one of those people that if you need it, I give it to you. And that's just how I've always operated. Like I work from abundance and not scarcity. But when I have to be in scarcity, I don't like it. I don't like how I feel. So I like to have the confidence of knowing that, okay, so no matter whether I close a deal or not this month, my bills are going to be paid, which very freeing for me was to get what he talks about is putting money away so that you have 1 month worth of reserves in the bank, 2 months worth of reserves, 3 months, until you build it up. And when I got to the place where I had 6 months worth of reserves, I felt like I had that little bit of security where I could actually, and this is the reason why it's really good to do that. And I don't care whether you have a partner or husband, wife, that also brings in an income. Your business needs you to feed it, and you don't want to pull from your personal money that comes in to feed your business, which is going to really feed you if you do it well. So for me, having that bit of a cushion was freeing to me, and also like not playing the Russian roulette game of, I wonder how much I owe the IRS. So that's another big, huge one. if there was one piece of advice I could give you at the beginning of your real estate career, that I wish I would have taken this advice and not waited 5-10 years, I don't know how long, before I got a professional CPA. To have instead of having a tax preparer, to actually have a CPA that I could ask questions of while I was building my business and the financial side of my business. That's something that it cost me more to have my taxes done, sometimes it's almost as much as, as it would have been worth it for me to just do them myself. More than that, but I learned so much about how to stay in front of making sure my business was set up in a way that benefited me in the long run, like having a partnership and then going from that to an LLC and then going from an LLC to a sub S corporation, and the reasons and the timing behind that. It's not always the best for you to have an LLC when you first start out, but for some reason, some people it is, depending upon what your personal, your whole personal picture looks like with your partner or your spouse. So I think that's a really good piece of advice. QuickBooks or Quicken, one of those, having that as an accounting of making sure all of your information gets stored, because when you have to go back a year, it's a bitch to have to go back a year and try to recreate all that. Another piece of advice that he gave that is a really good one. I don't know if you guys have an American Express, but American Express keeps really, really good records. I do anything that we do that's travel or entertainment. I do it all on American Express because it gets recorded, and you don't have to always pay off your American Express every month. They do have there's sometimes when you can't, you can pay it over time as well. So, but American Express is a really good one to have. The QuickBooks or Quicken is a good way to keep records from everything that you do from your checking accounts, because all that information gets downloaded into Quicken or QuickBooks. The problem with that for me is taking the time to sit down and go through it and categorize everything. Any of you have Quicken or QuickBooks, or have you started that? Yeah, Lindsay? Yeah.
I'm just doing like an Excel spreadsheet.
Okay.
And then have the categories.
Mm-hmm. Do you know that in Referral Maker, you can do all of that? That there is a whole section in Referral Maker, and he refers to it, of your budget. You can do your budget in there, and then your expenses. And so all that ties in with the other records that you keep for transactions. And over a year period of time, I just did this with somebody that I was coaching today. She got all of her information in from the last several years of transactions. And so all of those numbers were in there. So she was able to see, like 2 years ago, what her average sales price was, and then all the referrals that she had gotten, and she could see how many referrals it takes to close a transaction. So for every referral, every 5 referrals, she closed a transaction or something, so all those things can come together. And then your expenses, if you know what your expenses are for your business, which are in there also, or you can download them from Excel spreadsheet, I'm sure too. Those in comparison with what your average sales price and your goals are will tell you how much work you have to do every week. It all gets broken down in the dashboard, if you guys have gone that far into it. So these are really, really important pieces of being in the real estate business. I've seen more people fail in the business, not because they weren't good realtors or weren't going to be good realtors or couldn't be successful, but because they had too much pressure from the financial side, from the money side, that they had to just give up a lot of their time, or they couldn't quit their jobs, because it takes a lot of courage to quit your job that that many of you have done this or are going to do it, to quit that job and like leave that and have confidence that you can go forward. It helps if you have a little cushion set aside. I think it was Brian Buffini said, his dad said, when you're at the top of the mountain, throw a little dirt in the valley so it helps, it cushions your fall. Because so many people, you know, they run hard, they sell all these houses, you know, they're all over Facebook. Look what I did today. Look at how many houses I sold. Look how much money I'm making. And if that's not, you know, if that money just it comes in and it goes out, then when the times are slow, and real estate will slow down. It does. It's just the cycles of real estate. Takes a cycle all the time. Always make sure that you're in the direction of making sure that you start with 1 month's worth of reserves if you don't have it already, and build it. And I'd say 6 months, if you could get 6 months worth of, no matter what, that money, and that you don't touch that money is there and you can live for 6 months. I don't ever want to be that agent that when somebody says to me, do you think I should buy this house? That I'm thinking, yeah, you should, because in 30 days, then I'll have a check. I don't ever want to be in that position. And I've seen agents be in that position before. I've seen agents that if a house didn't close, they were, you know, their lights were going to be shut off. So you just don't want to be in that. Plus, you're not serving your clients like you should be serving them. So anybody else do a budget or thinking about it? Need some help?
I do a budget. I was a single mom from the time my daughter was 8 weeks old, and until
Wow.
she was 4, and my husband and I now got married. Then he was military and deployed a lot, so I couldn't work. So we were still kind of a one income family. And so I've always done a budget just for the sake of survival.
Yeah.
It's kind of carried me right through. We have gotten a little off track now that we have 2 incomes for the first time in our married life, but I have my budget made through the end of the year, and we usually take like our account down, our checking account will go down to 0. We loosely follow Dave Ramsey. Everything kind of has a place, so we don't do the mindless spending.
Yeah.
We lost both of my in-laws this last year unexpectedly, unfortunately, but there's a decent inheritance coming from that, and so we're kind of using that to get ahead and kind of build up so that I can kind of focus on everything and get these accounts opened and started and kind of go headfirst into it all.
Yeah. And you know, it's interesting because I was a single mom for quite a while. I had a 1.5-year-old and a 3.5-year-old. And I think that was one of it was an awful thing to go through, but I think it was one of the best things I could ever go through, because I, from that point on, knew that I could do whatever I needed to do by myself. I knew that I knew, and I don't think everybody actually gets an opportunity to experience that. You know, because a lot of, you know, I mean, my kid, you know, my son, he goes from they don't ever live by themselves, you know, go from home to college, you know, where all the bills are still being paid, to, you know, to maybe, you know, being in a relationship with somebody else, living with someone else. So I look at those kind of times as being the ones that taught me the most. My wife is home, so the dogs are going to go crazy here for a second.
I mean, we were that people. I was that mom in the grocery store with my phone out calculating. Sometimes I still do that. I do online ordering for everything because I don't just pick random things. I'm never at the store hungry, so I stick to my budget by doing the online ordering. But
It's
yeah,
hard because, you know, even once it's ingrained in you.
yeah,
Like I said, now I don't have to do that. And my kids are both in college, so it's just me. So I have extra money to spend at the grocery store. But once it's ingrained in you, you just keep doing it still.
I think when you learn something from a fear place, you don't forget. It's not like, okay, well, I'm not afraid now, so I'm going to not do this. Now you're even more afraid of being afraid, you know, so.
We're going back to being that.
Yeah.
Going backwards.
It's a
Yeah, I
smart.
find when I have money or a little extra, I'm actually more stingy and kind of terrified to spend it
We're
because
gonna
I'm
call you
like, well,
that,
what
Stingy-
happens if it's
Stingy
gone?
Lindsay. So business and personal account, you guys, who has a business account separate from your personal account? Yes, no?
Yes.
Lindsay, no? Business account,
Not yet.
just a checking account. That's
Yes.
all you need. You start with a checking account. You should
Yes.
also have a
And
savings.
I do have a business credit card that I use
Mhm.
to track and then I pay on that, but
Yeah.
I
So
don't
having
have
things
anything
in
separate.
different accounts. When you get to the place where you're an LLC and you have some investments and things that could cause, if you ever got sued, you want to make sure that you've got that separation between the two. So just work towards that. Get advice from a CPA. Work towards having 3 months worth of or 1 month, then 3 months separately from, even though you have you have somebody else in your life that brings in money too. Life changes in a second. So you always want to have your business be taken care of. I love the way Brian talks about his business. And Brian, during the recession, you know what Brian Buffini invested in was storage units. He bought like 10,000, I don't even know the number, storage units, because people had just been coming out of a really, really rich time where they've been spending tons and tons of money. And he said, people have, the way that he says this is, people who buy things they don't need to impress people that they don't know with money they don't have. So things they don't need, money they don't have, and impress people that they don't know. And he said, and all those people that are, this is a time when people have to downsize. They're moving from big houses to small houses, and people need places to store stuff. And that's where he invested more money during that period of time. So I think you have to have a mind for how all that works. And the guy's like a super, super generous person as well. But he's really, really, if there's anything that he's super, super smart about, it's money. And he was an accounting major when he was in college in Ireland. And also a tax account. So taking money out for taxes. You probably, some of you are probably like, oh, well, I got to make money first before I have, to take money out for taxes. But eventually, you're going to want to make sure that you've got some money set aside for taxes. And, he said 20% is a good number to look at, but that doesn't apply to everybody. Some people, it might be more because they have more income coming into their family. Some people, it might be less because they have all kinds of things that they deduct. So, the real rich people don't pay taxes because they have all these different outs. That's another reason why you have a CPA, is to learn, what are things that you should be keeping account of, things that you spend money on. When you travel, if you go someplace, go look at some houses, go meet a realtor and look at some houses. So, things like that, that sometimes you get these little hints that people do. And so for whatever the reasons are, they're going to be personal to you. And I don't want to have a broad perspective of, telling you what you should or shouldn't do as far as your financial position is concerned, because you all have different things. But it's my biggest point here is, you got to get this under control now at the beginning of your career. If you don't get the financial piece at least defined and know what your, know what the things are that you have to do on a regular basis. It's no different than brushing your teeth. Those are the things that are going to make a difference in your business. did you see the way that what he did with and it's also in your book too, the commission calculator, the way that he broke down the commission, how to do that? Did you guys see, like, look at this stuff in relationship to something that you could relate to yourself, like maybe one of your own commissions? He used a commission of, it was a $9,000 commission, but talked about, it always goes into your business account. So the first place it goes is into your business account. And then from there it goes to taxes, into your personal account, and into your business expenses. So taxes, your personal account, and your business expenses. Personal account would be how much I've always paid myself a paycheck. I've always paid myself a certain amount every month. Like my wife and I, we are now an S corporation, so we actually give ourselves a salary. We pay taxes on that, just like if we were employers to ourselves. And the reason why I did that was because a few years ago, our CPA said, when he went to do our taxes, he said, if we went from an LLC to a S corp, you would have saved $9,000 on this check you're writing. And I was like, okay, you sold me. Let's do that. Let's do that. So you become an employee of your corporation, and you can be one employee of a corporation. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to have 10 people. So, and if you ever hire your kids, you can have them be employees of your corporation as well. And it all has a different tax base to it. It's been a good decision for us, but you move from one place to another, but get good advice, and not just something from another realtor that something works for them, because it might not work for you. So questions or comments about that, about any of those things?
I have a quick, I guess it's a specific question, but do you get to write off your mileage?
Yes.
So driving from open houses and meeting clients, you write all that mileage off. Okay.
Absolutely.
That's going to be my problem, is looking at all.
Well,
writing that down. And okay.
You should write it down.
Yeah.
And you should have you could actually do it on your phone. You can get an app that every time you get in your car and you're going somewhere, it records. It records it all. Nolan, do you know what that app is? You're shaking.
I use Stride, recommended to me by the fabulous Allison Roach.
Yes. Okay. She is fabulous. This is the best word. What?
She's my mentor.
Oh,
is she?
Yeah.
I love that app.
Yeah, Stride. So tell Jackie how it works.
You just go into your phone and you press, you can't see it, but there's a plus button, and then you just click track my miles. And then when you get to your destination, click end drive.
Oh, I can figure that out.
Yeah. And then at the end of the year, when it's time to do your taxes, it calculates how much money you can deduct from your taxes.
Like 56 cents a mile or something, or 58 or something. What is it, Julia?
Yeah, it's 57 or 58, but it changes every year. But I was gonna say, so I tried Stride, but I just never think to turn it on before I drive anywhere, and I was getting frustrated. So I switched to Mile IQ, which is what Ben, is it Smale or Schmale? I never know.
Schmale.
Okay, Schmale says in his little video, and it's $60 for the whole year, which you can write off. And what I like about that one is it automatically does it for you. You never even have to do anything. But then the one thing you do have to do is I just at the end of every 4 or 5 days, I'll go into my phone, because the only bad thing is it logs every drive. So if you drive to the grocery store, it'll log that, but then you just swipe left for personal and right for business. And places that you go to often, like my daycare, for example, for my kids, you can automatically log them as personal or business. So I don't know. I like that one because then it takes the user error out of it.
Well, it also can, if you're not that precise about it, and you know how many miles your car has on it at the beginning of the year and how many at the end of the year, kind of estimate, and what percentage of time you're driving for your for work versus for personal. Then you do have the backup of all the recording. So the CPA usually just takes, like how many miles do you have in your car? They kind of get used to the percentage of time that you spend, business wise versus, like, we do not drive. We're not the kind of people that get in the car and drive to Texas. We just don't. If it's more than 4 hours, we're usually not that we're going to fly somewhere. So there are people that, they put 50,000 miles a year on their car because they drive to Denver, like just to have lunch or something. So I am not that person. I can't stand being in the car that long. So yeah.
QuickBooks does have a mileage tracker as well.
Is it one that QuickBooks? I have QuickBooks, but I don't use that part. Do you have to go in every time to do it, or is it?
I believe you do. I believe it's kind of like you just can start it and then stop it, or you can plug it in as well.
Okay, because I
Like
think I've seen that
addresses.
on my app on my phone. So yeah. So keeping, just for the love of your business, for the future of your business, the better records that you keep now, the more chance you have of being a successful business person. And go into Referral Maker. If you really use Referral Maker like it is meant to be used, it has everything that you need. So go into the business side. I think it's the business page, and then the expenses and expenses, reimbursements, income. It calculates all that stuff for you if you want to put it in there. And then if you ever went into coaching with Buffini and Company, like, you can't have a coach without having a budget. So that's something that, even if it's just something that you start to use, and don't beat yourself up if you don't do a good job at it to start with. Just use it as a kind of as a template for really blessing your business, because the more money you can throw into your business, the more your business can help you financially down the road, and you can start making investments. You'll learn more from Brian about the next levels of when you start investing, and actually investing in what you know, like Warren Buffett says. So any questions, you guys? Anything else you have? You tired? Ready? Time for a nap?
Time to watch Big Brother.
You're going to what?
Catch up on Big Brother.
Well,
Bachelorette.
Bachelorette. Who watches Bachelorette? You guys do?
I got to get romance somehow.
Yeah, that's it. You live vicariously through that.
I do.
Yeah.
I do want to get points. I did stay awake tonight.
You did. Your eyes were wide open.
Wide
You looked
open.
really like awake. Good job.
Thank you.
So, okay, you guys, thank you so much. You're doing great. I love this class. I love your faces. Actually, we could see each other in person sometime pretty soon, probably. Oh, this Friday. You guys all going to the Good Life celebration? Everybody going? Yes?
No.
No?
My daughter graduated from college, so that was the night of her party.
Oh.
So.
That's kind of important.
I'll be out of town, so I won't be there either.
Okay, well, I'll think about you. All right, take care, you guys. Talk to you later.
Night.
Bye.